Well, hello and welcome to Zwift Live. This is our weekly community race show, and this week we are on Zwift Racing League for race number 4 in round number 1. I'm Nathan Guerra, your host on this community race show every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Central Time, USA. Let's go ahead and take a look, though, what's all about for the Zwift Racing League right now for this round number 1. It is September 10th through October 15th, 2024. You can join anytime, everybody. If you still want to jump into a team, go ahead and try and find one over at WTRL.racing or jump into plenty of social media spaces out there with teams, as well as WTRL's own Zwift Racing League Facebook group. A lot of times people are posting in there looking for people to join up on teams. Also, round 2 team registration is now open. So you can go ahead and register a team of your own to get involved in round number 2. And alongside of me is going to be today Dave Toll. Dave, it's great to see you. We've got a team time trial today for race number 4, don't we?
Yeah, really different, Nathan, than the first one that we had to start this season off as well. My heart goes out to the riders that come into their team as the 3rd or 4th spot. We'll have a long talk about really tactics, but it's going to be a thrilling race in London today. I can't wait.
Yeah, we're jumping into the Greater London 8 today. This is a tough course, actually, for a team time trial. We're going to do one lap, 24.3 kilometers, 280.2 meters of climbing. Dave, what is the tactic for, I would say, both for the start to get a good go at this to start off, but also there's a big box hill in the middle of this thing.
Yeah, or even really, Nathan, when you look at it, you could say that this course is mostly flat, except for the back end is completely bananas. I mean, almost all of the climbing happens there on Box Hill. And when you look at this one, the teams are going to be challenged just to be honest with themselves and the role that you play on your team. Because let's talk about that. And I mean, we'll have a lot of time to, Nathan, but if you're not a rider who's going to be able to get over Box Hill, which is a significantly challenging climb, something you rarely see in a team time trial. I mean, if you compare this to racing in France to start the season, we are on the exact opposite end of the spectrum. You've got to get that 4th rider with you over Box Hill, and then that little kicker out of the escalator, that's going to blow teams up at the end of this race as well. So it's going to be as dynamic as it gets, but for those riders that are, coming into this knowing they're not going to have any impact or going to get dropped on Box Hill, your honor is, Nathan, to take a role in the first 2/3 really of this race and get the other guys to the bottom of Box Hill as fresh as you can. So I think that's the real hero of the day, to tell you the truth.
Trafalgar Square, rolling section, Box Hill, underground climb, main sections to be watching out for sure. Now, today we are going to be covering in with the B category. These are the team league standings right now for the Open EMEA West Southern East B1. So currently the WKG Bombers are at the top, Dave.
Yeah, and they won, Nathan, the first team time trial that we saw. So it'll be interesting to see how they roll out here. They'll be the first team out on course, so those splits are going to be something we'll be looking at closely throughout the day. You can see how close it is. As a matter of fact, if EDDK can come over the top of WKG today, they'll move into the lead here in Open EMEA West Southern. So there's going to be a lot of battles going on. Ghost team, they're going to be looking to move up. That's the all Dutch squad. So this is going to be really interesting, Nathan, when you look at spots 4 through 8, I'd say that's where everything's at play.
Yeah, it's a great point. There's a lot of competition to be had there. Those first 2 spots, lots to go down. And actually, we had a good chat with Alex Watts. No, not joking. That's his name. Alex Watts from the WKG Bombers had a great interview with us to learn a little bit more about the team that's currently leading this division. Well, I want to welcome to the program Alex Watts from the current leading team, WKG Bombers. Alex, it's great to have you on the program.
Thanks a lot for having me, Nathan.
What makes Team WKG stand out in the Zwift Racing League?
We're very tight-knit. We know each other really well. We're good friends in real life. We've met up outside of cycling, so we know each other. We know each other's characters. We know each other's strengths. We know each other's weaknesses. We have a fair idea of what each other are going to do in a certain situation, and we've just got that level of trust where we know that if something happens, if something goes wrong, that we can execute a plan and someone's not going to go like completely off script and mess everything up for everyone. We're often able to sort of surpass the raw numbers that you might sort of look at on Zwift Power and think, oh, well, like these guys should win because they've got the best sprint numbers, or these guys should win because they've got the best watts per kilo. And just trying to sort of focus on those marginal gains, making sure that we get the right bike set up, making sure that we do a course recon before every ZRL race so that we know, everyone knows, what the course looks like, what are the key points where people might attack, what do we want to do in certain situations.
What is your assets in the team as far as racing goes?
We're a really all-round team. So, we don't tend to win many races like with an individual, but as a team, we tend to come out on top or sort of like in the top two. In terms of like the constituents, we've kind of got like a set 6 riders who race every week. Paul, Johnny and Steph are our kind of designated sprinters. They can all push over 1,000 watts, sort of repeated efforts. I and Rick, we're kind of all-rounders. Our job is kind of to mark the moves, make sure that nobody gets away, and make sure that it all comes back together for a sprint. Jorn is our resident Norwegian. He's a wild card, irrepressible. We just cannot predict when he's going to go, but he will go for a breakaway. I've spent years actually as the sort of the captain of the team to try and convince Jorn not to attack because he's just wasting energy. But he's a time trialist outside. He just loves going at a sort of consistent power. He's really strong. Like in the second race in the league, the one that was going along the coast, with the 4 sprints on the coastal roads. He broke away after the second one and then won the 3rd and 4th sprints, FAL. And we couldn't have predicted that was going to happen. That wasn't even what he was trying to do. I think he was trying to break away for the win. But he just decided to go and he won those sprints and he ended up getting a lot of points for us. It kind of makes things easier for us as well when he escapes because it means that we don't have to do anything on the front and it forces other teams, particularly, sort of the rival teams who are competing for the wins with us to try and chase him down. And we can just sort of sit on their wheels and try and follow any counterattacks that they try and go off with. We kind of have this saying in our TTT that nobody wants to be behind Jorn because whatever the target numbers are, he'll always do that little bit extra. He's a really valuable member of the team and we'd be a bit lost without him.
Really great to hear from from Alex Watts. It sounds like they got a good team vibe going on, don't they, Dave?
I agree. Nathan, a great interview. If you didn't have any context and you didn't know who Jorn was, you would think he was a really friendly Labrador retriever, I would think. Always running away, and you never know what he's going to do next. And that team has great energy, and they've really tapped into that, it looks like, this season, Nathan. Again, that 1-point lead here, and they look ready to defend it. So that was a fun interview and super relevant to what we've got in front of us today. As you can see, every team has its own energy, and those guys look like they are really getting the most out of their ZRL experience. So good for them. Good luck today.
Yeah, and also just a quick look here at the first race. You had actually mentioned maybe taking a quick look at how they performed in the first TTT because they said they don't always win everything, but they've got a lot of consistency, don't they? And so, I think TTT seems to be their wheelhouse. We'll hear more about that actually later in the race actually, but this was how things worked out the first time. They were able to take the win in the first race, 31-10, just ahead of EDDK. So that's the first race results. We're actually getting riders just starting to jump out on course actually. So let's see if we can go ahead and find it. Looks like SRT are out on course and starting to get their move on when it comes to the TTT. This is going to be an interesting one, Dave. Talk to me a little bit about how you want to go out because of the reality of that box hill later on. This looks pretty well formed here from SRT. Actually, they got out with a good formation.
Yeah, and Nathan, yeah, let's start with that. This is a team with a tremendous amount of experience when you talk about ESRT here. So really identifying who your strong men are who aren't going to be there on the climb and having them just really front load this race. Now, again, it's time taken off of the fourth rider out here. A strong squad of 6, Nathan. I think ideally, if you're looking to get your best time, you're going to be down to 4 as you come over the top of Box Hill. But to get those guys there as fresh as possible is the name of the game right now. Take a look at our man Hugh in this group. That's good to see. So this is a team that we're going to be watching very, very closely out here. And again, kind of mobbing it a little bit right now, and nothing wrong with that, Nathan. You're never going to have that perfect ride from start to finish out here. And you can see that these guys are carrying a good tempo, a strong pace here as we get everybody out on course smoothly. That's the name of the game. Kind of take this step by step as you get rolling out here.
Yeah, SRT, one of the top teams here that we are going to be covering. 325 watts on the front from this guy as we got the roll through coming on through. The first place that these guys are going to be looking forward to is going to be that Trafalgar Square. This is the faster sections. We can see them traveling 43 kilometers per hour along the river here, but there's going to be a right-hand turn in just a moment, and that's the first pinch point of keeping everybody together. Now, that climb into the square, though, Dave, it is so short. It is a very quick, you can kind of, as long as nobody's really on the river, you can kind of attack that thing a little bit because you can carry some speed up and over the top as you head into the back parts of the greater London, what would be the flats of London.
Yeah, these most riders here will have a lot of experience in this London world, and the way you described that was perfect, Nathan, is coming in and using technique, understanding your Zwiftcraft. These guys have got their act together. No doubt about it. Again, we're in with SRT right now, a team that's not entirely from the United Kingdom, Nathan, but that's a strong, the core of the team, Ollie, Andrew, and Edward, along with Hugh here, all out of the UK. And boy, they are holding a really good pace early. So they must have set an aggressive schedule today here for ESRT, Nathan.
Yeah, it looks like it is an aggressive schedule. Now, quickly, we are going to have checkpoints coming in momentarily for the event out here today. And as we do, we will be bringing those in. It looks like here at the 6 kilometer, 12 kilometer, and 18 kilometer, all the way up until the finish. The first one to get out on course. Are we having, what would be really sad is if we're having a scratch from our featured team out here today. I wonder if something went wrong because I'm not seeing WKG out here today.
Well, and yeah, I had thought that we started with the top teams out first on course, but it looks like it's the other direction here.
Yeah, it looks like it. Interesting. I thought that must be a little bit of a change up because we used to go the other way. So perhaps they're the last ones in the pen. And so we've got a more traditional style out here today.
It would be unheard of to not. There we go.
There they are coming on through. Great to see.
I apologize for the little data hiccup. It kind of had me very, very concerned there for a moment, Nathan, but that makes a lot more sense now. So I think we're going to filter in more data here because WKG was the first team to start, as I'm now believing, although that number's gone here. So we'll figure it all out. But this is ESRT that we've got here. Nathan, you want to talk about Thursdays and what happens with WTRL's team time trial that really started this whole thing. We've documented that little split happening right now. Going to want to weld this back together. It looks like Ollie's going to need to give it some beans here and just close that. That's exactly what I'm talking about, Nathan, as far as there's no perfect ride, but these are the little hiccups that you need to get through. And this is becoming a little more of a problem. So,
Looks like some good roll through speed, so they're going to get it back
Not too
together. It
bad.
doesn't look like they backed off too much on the front end of this. So they were able to take care of business there, it looks like, and not have too many problems at this point.
All right. So we're going to continue to roll with these guys. Again, it's not completely flat, but that 280 meters, more 7/8 of that climbing that you're seeing is happening on Box Hill out here. We'll talk about that a lot because it's something you just don't see that often in a team time trial. This one really stood out as it was going to be a day that if your team has a weak link and it's not the top riders on the squad, but it's going to be, those positions 3, 4, 5 that you really are relying on, the wheelhouse of these squads here in the ZRL. It's always been 6 riders on the team, and we've always scored the time off of the 4th rider here. But you're really going to pay extra attention around that rider here and just nurse them as much as you can to get them into the thick of it on Box Hill. Looks like you found the BZR squad here, Nathan. I believe we're jumping in with the Mighty Lions.
Yeah, BZR Lions. Great to see them out here today. They're having a good roll. We're in with Luca Flubis now at this point, all coming out of Belgium as solid 4.0 watts per kilogram or so on the front here, coming from Luca. Nice roll through. Looks like a little bit bunched up behind. When you get that little bit of a bunching up here, my experience is if you're understanding the way that's going to work for you, you're going to end up a little bit frustrated. So there'll be a little bit of like chatter going on. I usually say watch the elbows. That's what I say. Watch the elbows. That's kind of my insider way of saying, hey, you're pushing me off the wheel here. Can you let me have my wheel? Because behind there's a little bit of energy being wasted to hold the wheel that's at the front.
So just feather it a little bit, Nathan, then? To that rider, just what are we talking? How many watts do they need to back off and for how long generally in that situation?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a little bit of a feather. It's like you gotta, here's the thing that's really interesting about it too, is you see there was a great transition from Luca. Now he needs to not go quite too hard. And that was pretty much perfect from him because he dropped straight through back the pack and did not really fight. Now, whether or not, I don't know their order. I don't know what's being called. I don't know whether or not the riders toward the back are actually taking a break or if they're actually going to be pulling through again. Because now that Luke is up toward that 3rd, he's kind of pushed his way in and amongst somewhere that maybe not. I get the feeling that the 2 riders at the back here are taking a break and he's slotting in for 4th wheel, perhaps, in order to take another. At least that's what it would look like to me. If I were a DS and this is what I was calling, I'd be like, all right, get back to where you need to be. Now he's getting back into this 5th wheel. Maybe he is going all the way back. So maybe there was a little bit too much acceleration. What I saw when he got to the back, he immediately went back to 4 watts per kilogram. That pushed him right into the middle of the pack rather than the back of it. And that kind of caused everybody to have to kind of push around him here. So you can see it's interesting how it can end up playing out with whether or not you fully sink and sprint with that tactic to get to the back and then go right to the back wheel. But if the sprint's too much, you can end up being in and amongst that group again, and it kind of can cause some mayhem. So it takes some real precision actually to get this right.
Nathan, talk about the mental aspect here of, let's say that you are your team's designated sprinter. You're the thoroughbred sprinter of a team, but you just don't climb that well on something like Box Hill. It's hard, isn't it, to accept the role that your race is to, let's call it 16K in. That's about where the climbing really starts in this course, 24.3 kilometers of racing. But if you have in your mind that your race is actually to 16K, and your job here is to take as much pressure off of the rest of the team as you can to that point. And that's the biggest impact. So what delta can you bring to the team? It's not by hanging on through the flat parts and then getting dropped at the bottom of Box Hill. It's about emptying your tank before you let the riders crush it on Box Hill. That's how you're a really, really good teammate out here if you fit that specific role. Does that make sense, Nathan?
100%. If you do not believe you are going to make it over the top of Box Hill with your team, your best bet is to completely be that engine up front on these flatter sections of course. Use all of your matches through there. Roll everybody up into the top, into Box Hill. Hang on if you can, but the reality is, if you cannot, then let everybody else save what they need to get over the top of Box Hill as fast as they possibly can.
And you know what, Nathan? Even to just drive that point home a little bit more, you shouldn't be able to if you did your job right. My point being that if you can hang on barely, you didn't do your job completely in the point of, getting them to 16K and emptying your tank. If you've got enough left to hang on, then you clearly didn't do that.
That's right, 100%. Well, back in with Wahoo now, as these are currently Wahoo sitting, I believe it is in pretty solid position here with 29 points total. And it looks like for the series overall, this is with James Booth toward the front. Now he's doing a full sync. You see what he's got going on here with Booth. Very well done. Now up into 5.6 watts per kilogram. Going to jump back on. And if he feathers this right, he will not disrupt at all. Straight line all the way through, right back onto the back. Took his pole, did not disrupt any of that speed. No confusion. This is execution from Wahoo.
Not a surprise. This is a team that has done their work. And right now it is just hammer and tongs out here for Wahoo. Graham McKenzie, James Booth, as you mentioned, the Scottish rider on this team, Kevin Horsley, Marcus Illingworth, and Mark Smith, all part of this team that has truly, I have a feeling they might climb up a couple spots here on the overall table. This is the fourth of 6 races that make up this season of ZRL racing, as they just hammer along right now. These little tiny gaps are going to be happening for all of our teams throughout the day. I don't think anybody is going to be able to completely dial things in. Can't do much better than we're seeing from Wahoo out here right now. Getting these splits in, you can see it is close, really close out there. For the first time, Nathan, it looks like we're seeing the Forza team. So Swedish Zwifters there with an 8, a little quicker now, LEQP Trublion in at 8:09, but these times are just going to get faster and faster, definitely going to go sub 8 out here at 6K. These checks will be great for us here. That 18K check, they are into Box Hill at that point. But right now, LEQP, fastest team at that 6K split. But it's really not much range there. 8:09 for the fastest squad, Sunrise Team B, Jokmok at 8:32. That's only 23 seconds separating the top team there from 7th fastest at check 1, but it'll get quicker. Definitely. I think a few teams, Nathan, will get sub 8.
Yeah, I think so. I definitely think sub 8 is going to be within striking distance. Let's go ahead and see how LEQP is doing, what their organization looks like, actually. It looks like fairly well organized as just a straight line right down the center here. They've got somebody with a ZRL helmet, it looks like. So definitely a team that knows what they're doing, as they've won their division before, it looks like, as this rider's on the front. It's going to be Hiram, actually, who's taking a solid pole.
Something that's pretty unique to Zwift, Nathan. I mean, I do know like Remco wearing a gold helmet as Olympic champion, but in real life, you don't really see that. The helmet for the championship teams, that didn't start in the first season either. It was a little over a year ago that they brought the helmets along, but you don't see them that often. They really do stand out. That's a big achievement in the world of
this
Zwift
is trouble,
racing.
Dave. This is trouble.
Yeah,
a little bit. They're going to
scramble right now.
That was really good on
filling the gap.
The moment that roll through coming. Which athlete was that? I got to get that name, because there was some sort of call out there.
Actually, even
something.
2 of them. Yeah,
because that was
I
very
completely agree.
I think it was Tengazal. I believe it was. I'm not positive, Maybe one of these two. One of the Norwegians here, I believe, had a really solid call out there, saw exactly what was going on with the gap, and let the roll through speed, rather than backing off and saying, I'm just going to stay where I need to be, made an audible, said, okay, at this moment, I know what needs to happen. There's a gap there. I'm going to take my speed that's currently with me. It's not going to use any extra effort, and I'm going to glue this all back together. Does look like they're trying to figure it all out again a little bit here, but nicely done there to make sure there wasn't some separation. I think there was an overreaction to the separation, though, and they slowed down at the front, is what it looks like ended up happening to me, that, look, I got it, and then they kind of freaked out because of the gap a little bit and everybody slowed down. You can really get those situations, can't you, Dave, where the precision of the communication of what needs to happen in the moment is so incredibly important.
Pretty rare, Nathan, in a team time trial that you'd say, I'd like to see a replay of that. But you nailed it.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I mean, that was some really great, not really even Zwift craft, but appreciation to the understanding of how you can really, really be a huge help in a team time trial squad if you know when to be and where to be at how to fix things. So this is the team that we were just looking at. They actually had the fastest split at the moment, and there's, even at worst, one of the top 5 teams out here. But it's been a little discombobulated as well for these guys, Nathan. I think they're just trying to find their rhythm through this part of the course. It's so ominous when you look at what's coming up here. 16K in, everything changes. So the team's trying to implement their strategy that gets them in the best shape to that critical juncture of this course today.
Well, let's take a look at the current splits as they stand. It looks like coming through at the 12K right now, Belgian Zwift.
Well, what's significant here is, that the EDDK is quicker than WKG Bombers. That sort is a little, because what that's doing is going back to the 12K now, because you can see that the fastest time is 10 seconds quicker from hashtag EDDK, Nathan. So interesting. Now, again, so much at play here with what's coming up, but certainly a good indicator that they're setting some fast times early. But WKG, the Bombers, Nathan, they're not going to be that concerned if they see Ghost Team only 4 seconds behind them. LEQP holding on. That's the team we've been in with and still are, I believe. Yes, we are. And Nathan, so they're going to be pretty happy there, only sitting a few seconds off of and sitting in 7th spot now, but only 29 seconds out of the fastest time at that check. Looking, though, at BZR, the Lions in with a 16:53 on a good day.
Yeah, take a quick look here at EDDK now. This is going to be the team that's currently got the fastest time, and they are battling hard with WKG in order to try and take them out of that top spot. WKG currently leading by 1 point in the series. BZR Rider Lions 13 now coming on through with a little bit faster time at that 16:46. Ghost Team B, don't count Ghost out, though. I'm taking a look here at Ghost, and I have a feeling that they're a team that's chomping at the bit to try and get a win here. Oh, but how many riders do they have, though, Dave? That is a tough one for them. Looking through, okay, my bad.
Okay.
The cameras weren't right there. I
blame the cameraman.
Yeah, it's the cameraman. Totally 100% the cameraman. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They're all here. Scared me for a second there, Dave.
Well, 3 is troublesome, to say the least, right? Because then you start wondering, where is that 4th rider? What is going on? It's going to be absolute pandemonium. But in this case, they are dialed. And Nathan, you make a really good call right there. This team absolutely could win today outright. This is Alex Lam. Now, it's all Dutch riders on this squad. Alex Lam, Corin ten Stalen, Damien Dufour, Gloomhaven, and Morgan van des Pools. Along with, it's not all Dutch, I'm sorry, one Swiss rider, Zwift Tour. You can find on YouTube, but I like this team. They've got a lot of energy, and we haven't seen anyone looking quite this good. This is the gold standard of what we've seen so far today, Nathan.
Yeah, they're doing great. Loving to see what we're getting from the Ghost team here, and they're currently in doing pretty well in the standings. I believe they're in that third place at the moment.
I
So
think both. Third in the standings overall and third today right now, I believe.
that's right. So this is kind of like holding that podium spot. Want to get out of that spot. Don't want to necessarily, it's. I think they're kind of that in between right now between fourth, fifth, sixth. I think they're all battling underneath third. They've got that really solid third spot. There's still, 3 races left here at this point, including today. Maybe they can make a go for it. I mean, being within uh such a close margin still, it's still doable, but they've got to have amazing ride. And from what I hear
And
from
it's more.
WKG and EDDK, they are really, really strong. Those two teams are really strong TT tiers. So these guys, as you would say, Dave, need to punch above their weight today.
Yeah, they're showing it. And, the point is part of what makes ZRL special is those teams are the cream of the crop here, talking about WKG and EDDK. So this squad here, getting a win in this team time trial would be exceptional for the morale. Just in general, this is something that they are hungry for. But it's a huge ask for them to really contest for first or second out here. That ship has sailed, to tell you the truth, just because, Nathan, they would need to not only have a great ride themselves, they need 3 or 4 other teams over the next few weeks to start beating WKG and EDDK to bring back enough points, right? So those two teams are kind of in a league of their own. As they say, the cream rises to the top. Well, in this league, it jumped out of the cup.
Well, L'Equipe still, but I have a feeling when EDDK comes through, we're going to see that change up. These are the 3. Now, what's interesting, the 3 teams we were just talking about still haven't come through on their 12K split just yet. So we will get those momentarily. Here we go as they start to come in. This is interesting. Ghost here jump actually up to second place.
That's a surprise.
But
but they're going to move back to 4th overall because
good point.
L'Equipe is funny to say it that way, Nathan. LEQP. That makes sense. I'm going to sign off on that because they just moved into 3rd on course right now. Well, I think we will see.
Look at how close that is, though, Dave. Oh, my! Second. Are you kidding me? EDDK are flying.
Now, this is going to be the big one. Is WKG still within 10 seconds? Has it gone up or down off of that 10-second differential that they had at 6K? I'm very curious. And then who's saving a little something special, some razzmatazz for Box Hill, Nathan?
I think they're missing a rider, too, from what I'm seeing here. I'm seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 riders only here for the EDDK, so they're actually showing up with one, or not maybe had one drop off or something. No, it's not. But they don't have they don't have 6 though to get this result. That's impressive, to be honest.
So again, this day really comes down to the 4 and who can get over the climb. I mean, ultimately, it's going to be such a Donnybrook over there. So I can't wait to see this split come in from WKG. I mean, it very well could be still right at 10 seconds here, too.
Well, one of the things with WKG,
full tilt boogie.
I mean, they're flying.
They're 5-2.
You can see it. Yeah, it looks like is there really only 5 with them? Oh, man. Johnny's off the back. Okay. What did he do early on would be the big question.
I wish I could see all the data, Nathan, because maybe Johnny did exactly what I talked about today. I'm gonna go with that narrative. Like, took some huge pulls, emptied the tank, buried himself to get. And there's Jorn from the interview that we were talking about.
It. Jorn, he's on the front.
On cue.
Nobody wants to be on Jorn's wheel because he's gonna do that little.
He's a
extra.
Maniac. Yeah, the takeaway from that interview was he's just a maniac. Alex Watts, fantastic interview. Who is on Jorn's wheel? It's going to be Stefan, isn't it? Stefan Viebeck here. Or excuse me, I'm wrong. It's Rick, isn't it, on the wheel?
Yeah.
My bad.
You can see that, yeah, because the leaders up ahead. Those are the riders nearby list
That
here.
was
But
I was
Dave,
adding.
after Jorn takes a solid pull here and being about halfway through the race, I believe here, let's go ahead and hear a little bit more from Alex Watts about this team that's currently leading and trying to defend right now, as EDDK are definitely trying to knock on the door of that first place in this B category. Which racer course do you think suits WKG the best?
We're kind of TTT specialists, not because we're like especially strong. We don't have like the biggest guys who can push like 400 watts or anything like that. I always plan the numbers every week before the race. So that everyone knows what's their target number they should be aiming for when they're on the front of the pace line. We practice that every Thursday as well for TTTs, for WTRL, and just make sure that we execute those numbers really well. We've managed to beat teams that are pushing out better WKG numbers or just raw watts than us, just because we're able to be consistent and keep all of our riders together, hopefully until the very sort of dying moments when we can really push on and sink home that victory.
What's the most memorable moment for the WKG Bombers in the ZRL?
Last season, we had an A2 team, the WKG Mavericks, and we actually managed to win that league in the final TTT, winning by less than a second, which was able to give us the victory. When we looked at the numbers afterwards, and we looked at the team that we beat, they did on average about half a watt kilo better than us throughout the stage. I think a lot of teams, they go into TTTs if they're not very experienced by just kind of riding as a bunch, ad-libbing who's going to ride on the front at any one moment, whereas the most efficient way to do a TTT is with a pace line, is having an organized plan beforehand and just following that plan.
All right, let's describe Team WKG's racing style in 3 words.
Pedal dead hard.
Is that actually something you guys say to each other?
That is a motto. That is a motto for us.
If you could choose any pro rider to join Team WKG, who would it be? Esports and in real life?
I think for esports, I think it would have to be our world champion, Bjorn Andreasen. He's such a strong rider, and the way that he won the world championships last season was kind of incredible. I think if it was an IRL rider, it would have to be Matthew van der Poel. He's just that Swiss Army knife rider.
So in the current season, who do you see as your biggest rival for Zwift Racing League?
It's definitely Team EDDK. We hadn't really come across them before this Zwift season, but we're in a league with them, and they've got some really, really strong guys. Who have pushed us really hard. For example, in the last round in the country's coastal one, they got 3 riders who beat our best rider, and we only managed to sort of take the victory in the end because we were really consistent and managed to get all 6 of our riders in the top third of the field. But it was a really close one thing, and we actually thought after the race, they've beaten us. They must have beaten us. It was only when we sort of saw the points in the end that we were just about managed to edge them.
Alex, it's been so great having you here on Zwift Live. Really appreciate you opening up about WKG Bombers.
Thanks so much for having me, Nathan, and good luck to all the racers out there.
So good to hear, and you can see exactly why. I mean, talk about a perfectly predicted situation here that EDDK would be up against the WKG Bombers right now, and they are battling it out on Box Hill. Couldn't have a better situation in the race, actually, Dave.
Yeah, Nathan, these teams are incredibly well matched. It's like watching Godzilla and Mothra battling. You just have no idea who's going to win. I mean, if you look at it, in the first team time trial, it was WKG taking the win, but that has gone back and forth then throughout this race. They still only have a 1-point lead in the season. So this is going to come down to the final race, no doubt about it. Rain coming down hard, down to 4 riders here on Box Hill. Nathan, I'm not surprised to see this. I mean, this gets whittled down very, very quickly. Once the climbing gets serious, you find out who the 4 core riders are, and then it's time to really TCB, take care of business now on this climb. Obviously, you're 0 wiggle room now.
Yeah, jumping in with EDDK, who watts per kilogram WKG Bombers said was their main rivals out here, and we can see exactly why at 5.0 watts per kilogram here coming in from this rider. This is going to be from EDDK, the rider Jalgard, I believe. I hope I got that one correct. As mainly Danish team, and he just seems to be their climber, Dave. I think he's just going to set it at this tempo. And, sometimes that's how it works, isn't it, on a climb? You just put your good climber on the front, and he just has to make sure that he doesn't drop everybody.
Well, exactly. I mean, look, welcome to the pain cave. Buckle up. The reality is this is where we're going to be for a few minutes now. And Nathan, I mean, you have seen this time and time again. This is one of the trickiest positions to be in, is keeping the pace high enough that you're getting the absolute best ride out of the team without blowing people up. I mean, this is that red zone into purple zone area that we're talking about. This is about a rhythm. It's about, it's so big that you have this mental, simpatical vibe on the team, and it looks like EDDK is in pretty good shape right now. Nathan, you're not going to ride this sector better than what they're doing here. So great job. I mean, he's been on the front the whole time. This is much more, rather than about draft, about tempo.
Yeah, it is, and it looks like here for EDDK, we're going to have a takeover, actually, though, of another rider toward the front. So they are going to swap it up a little bit. He's done his pull, it looks like, and it's going to be Vibek, I believe, that's going to kind of take over. Now, Reinstrom actually now making his way to the front. And there is going to be a little bit of jostling on the climbs, for those wondering how to take this on, maybe perhaps, or looking for a couple of little tips. It doesn't quite matter as much who is leading, whether or not you're fighting too much. As long as the speeds aren't too high, it's not as much of a loss if you can kind of all climb together. You do get a little bit of draft. You don't want too much fighting, but you can kind of shuffle a little bit more on these climbs when this percentage of gradient gets pretty high.
Yeah, well said, Nathan. I mean, draft still does matter, and they're going much faster than your average Zwifter would even imagine here. This is our EMEA West Southern Bees, but a very, very high level that we're witnessing now. This is the team that's, I wouldn't even say looking to upset the apple cart. They have been in a season-long battle royale, and this is really one of the moments where you're not going to win the season here, but a bad ride today really puts you in danger of not being able to contest it all the way to the final race here. So they're more than keeping their head above water. These are the riders that we've got on screen right now. It's interesting that Bjorn Andresen is the rider that Alex Watts was talking about, a Danish rider, as this team almost entirely made up of Danes here. So something about Denmark and esports, Nathan. This is without a doubt, the Scandinavians, since we first really started getting into esports and proper, Scandinavians have always punched above their weight. Whether it's Norway, Finland, Sweden, but certainly I think Denmark at the top of the table now. This team having a tremendous ride.
Having a great ride actually here, and it's a solid 5.1, 5.0, 4.5. Now Vibek on the back here trying to get back at 6 watts per kilogram. Last little kick before it flattens out. Are they actually going to catch the Ghost team just ahead of them here at this point? This is an amazing ride coming in from EDDK, because Ghost, they started ahead of them by about a minute, I believe, and I think they have closed it down.
Wow. I mean, they are crushing Box Hill right now. It'll be now the split at 8. There you go. I was just going to say at 18K, and the teams will be past that. And look at this. Even though we've been in with EDDK, they are now 10 seconds in arrears. WKG taking over. Our lead team, Nathan, has flipped the script here on Box Hill. Oh my, it is on like Donkey Kong now, as this is going to be quite a chase that we're looking at. It's going to be L'Equipe. I love you calling it that. Troublion, Nathan, in third. Swedish Swifters in fourth right now, but the gaps are big and blowing up, but it's still close enough that we've got ourselves a real bike race here. As what a race it is, Nathan. This is going to be WKG that we're in with now.
Yeah, and you can see the change up there. EDDK came in at with the first place at that 6 kilometer marker. Then it stayed consistent there at the top. Now the swap, that 10 seconds, and that's at that 18K marker. WKG just climbing better? Is that what's going on? But if they are climbing better,
they've
Dave,
got 5.
That's a good point too, and they still got 5. So even if EDDK, as you heard from Alex, they said they're watt monsters. They're kind of like these rulers that can just roll with so much speed. They should have the advantage on the back end of this course. But WKG still have 5 riders. Does that make up for it? Because there's some extra speed in the firepower of 5 versus 4.
Well, and I think something about the pacing schedule was very, very dialed for WKG here, Nathan. I think they kept a little bit of nitrous in the tank, and then they opened up that valve on the climb, and that's where they're able to flip the script there on EDDK. Now, it is not over. EDDK will have to put their nose to the grindstone, though, to be able to catch these guys. They look like they are really, really finding a rhythm now at this point. It's their race to lose, Nathan. So they had a 1-point lead after all of this. Doubling 1 isn't that great. It goes to 2 points. So still, it is so hard to open up much of an advantage in this really competitive battle. But WKG looking like they're taking the advantage right now.
Yeah, and you did hear also the reality of a points race might be in the favor of EDDK. WKG just barely won out on the coast, actually, with Sugar Cookie with those points. So, whether or not they're able to continue on with this first place. Maybe now this isn't over though. This is not even close to over. There's still plenty of racing to go here. Let's go ahead and jump forward though in with Wahoo's just finishing up. They just came across the line. They're being chased closely by the BZR Lions 13 that they've got 4 coming across the line. Then we haven't spoken much about OUT. They've got a couple of meters here yet to go, and they're looking solid with 4 riders still.
I think, Nathan, what's amazing is that the Bombers still have 5 riders together. They might be the only team with 5 at this point in the race, to tell you the truth. This course really does lead you to finding out who your 4 best climbers are. There's no doubt about that. So the fact that the 4 best climbers on WKG are 5 guys, that says a lot about the depth and quality of that team.
In with Berglund. Coming out of Sweden. This is that Swedish OUT team. Absolutely love these guys. Great to see them out here and hammering away. They're about to finish up their race. They were sitting right in the middle of the pack. We'll see what they can finish out with. And right around that 5th, 6th, 4th placing. So they're probably looking to get some good result here to bump that up a little bit, up into 7 watts per kilogram here, coming from Berglund as they finish out. Then we've got Team SZ right behind them. Also a Swedish team, but a little bit different branding, different team name here with SZ.
Berglund, Marianne Berglund, the former world champion, I believe 1983 world champion. So that's sort of one of the royal names in Swedish racing for sure. But here we are. This is going to be Gustafsson and company.
And I didn't
so there's
know that.
not
That's
one American,
out,
Nathan.
Dave. That's a great call out on Berglund. That's a common name.
Look her up. Marianne Berglund was a force to be reckoned with back in the 80s. Nathan, I did note earlier, not one North American in this race, which is, it makes me happy in a weird way to be able to see how international the sport is. And at this time of day, I mean, it's, right in the middle of the day here in the United States, but these leagues are so popular that they're able to make do without any Yanks.
Eric Tengendahl. This is one of the riders earlier that made that audible call that was really good, up into 171 beats per minute as they finish up for LEQB. Coming across the line, nicely done. And this is all, there's a lot of riders going solo still. I have to go all the way back to EDDK because as I look through, there are riders all over look at this. This is how many riders just said enough is enough, because the reality of the Box Hill and the way that you want to ride this thing is you might have to let go of a rider or two to get to that finish line as fast as you possibly can. Again, as you said at the top of the program, Dave, burning those matches for those riders that won't make it over the top, that was probably a good call for some of these teams.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think it's a great sign. Your team is firing on all cylinders when you're brave enough to sacrifice yourself like that. I mean, that's what real commitment is, not just hanging on as long as you can for your own personal pride. The impact is what some of these riders did out here today. So I am really stoked, Nathan, to see that that's the mindset of racing here. All these teams going to be just hightailing it now to the finish line. We haven't seen it here today. There's that little escalator kicker that I'm sure that that one, it's not even puts a sting in the legs, but that's almost where you almost cramp, I would think, on that steep little exit.
This is for all the marbles here, Dave, right now. I mean, this is the push to the line between EDDK and WKG.
Don't finish better than this. Nathan, look at that, 4-1, right? I mean, there's they could all reach out and touch each other as they came across the line.
Separation a little bit for Ghost, but they're going to get one. They're going to get their third across the line. Look at this, still with five. WKG,
incredible,
bringing it to the line. Now, was that? I mean, they probably got a little extra something
even
out of that.
Better.
So.
I mean, it looks like they might finish with 4 because I think we just saw a hero. He's going to get back on here, but looks like they have done it out here today. So top team, let's see if they can hold on for the win. It was about 10 seconds the last time we checked. Looks like they did.
Yeah, I think they pulled this one off. That was amazing result here from WKG, but we'll have to wait and see what's going to come through here. We should have our results here momentarily. As
look at the way they've grouped up here, Nathan, after the finish. There's a lot of riders looking for a bucket right now, I would think, completely. And that it doesn't get much tougher than what we saw here today in the ZRL.
Well, that came through.
There you have it.
A big thank you to WTRL and Zwift. Awesome to see here what we've got going on here. WKG Bombers 30. What? They smashed this one. Now, is that the interview boost? Is that what that was, Dave? Because that was a crazy TTT. I think they won the last one by 10 seconds. This one, almost 30.
Boy, yeah, absolutely impressive from WKG Bombers there. So they're going to take the win with a 33-37. EDDK does hold on for second, and that's going to be at 34.02. It's LEQP. Trubleon in there at third today. Swedish Swifters for fourth. Ghost for fifth. Out Glosson in sixth. BZR, the Lions in seventh today. Sunrise for eighth. Wahoo Esports Bad Boys in ninth, and then BZR Lions 10, rounding out our top 10. Really competitive group, fun racing to watch. Love the course. I know it's a bit of an outlier, but I think that brought a very spicy team time trial into the ZRL here in London.
Yeah, it looks like right up until that 18-kilometer mark, you can see where things had stood. It came through flat at 8, 750. That was the battle. Then they brought back just 3 seconds, right? Up at that. And then at the back end, and, I had a little bit of conversation with Alex as well outside of the recording that we had there. And he did say later in the race is where he'd watch out. The consistency. He kept on using that word consistency over and over again. And that really kind of proves it here, doesn't it? As that we also saw that in the first TTT. It wasn't until the back end of the race that they actually took over and were able to finish things out for the win. So consistency is key for this WKG team.
Imagine they would love it if we changed the rules and took the time off of the fifth rider of 6 as well, because it's pretty incredible that they won and had 5 together. as they came across the finish line after over 24K of racing out there. That was a command performance from the Bombers here today, Nathan. That's one that sticks with you, and I love the way we've been able to jump around and look at different racing leagues out here.
100%. Well, that is going to be our coverage for the TTT out here today. Next week, everybody, we've got race number 5 on October 8th. It's going to be a points race on Glyph Heights. This is going to be an interesting one. Glyph Heights, definitely something that's going to be new for everybody, and not something that we've necessarily have seen before in racing. So be on the watch out for that. You can still join a team, everybody. Make sure to be looking around if you want to. Plenty of places to do that, but this is going to be a little bit of climbing out here because you're taking on some of the new sections of Watopia, actually, as we are out on the new grade and a couple of other sections, of course, so that are new to Watopia. So make sure join us up next week, same place, same time, for the Glyph Heights. Also, though, your monthly racing monument is going on as well. Experience the thrill of racing on the global stage with Zwift World Series. Go and check out the Zwift World Series currently community races going on. We've also have your qualifiers this Thursday that you can check out. We're going to be broadcasting that here on Zwift Live. So come and check out these qualifiers. Super excited for that to see who is going to get in it amongst the series pass riders. Dave.
Yeah, for all the teams who still are to race today, good luck. I hope you're able to pick up some tips and motivation from the broadcast here. And Nathan, I can't wait. I just looked at the start list for Thursday. Some huge names showing up. It's going to be a lot of fun as more riders looking to qualify to get into the race in 2 weeks on the same course. So really exciting racing coming up Thursday.
Yeah, and what's really exciting for me about that is I think as we get into Zwift season, virtual season more, we're going to start seeing more and more names as they come inside from the outdoor racing. And I have a feeling that that field is only going to get more and more competitive. Also, just the reality of seeing how it played out with the first qualifiers and into the first ZWS elite race. I think there's a little bit of motivation. I've heard some rumors going around about, some pretty awesome individuals and athletes going to be trying to get into those series passes. So make sure to be there on Thursday, everybody. Dave and I are going to have a good time commentating on that. Well, that's going to be it for us, everybody, for this week. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We will see you next week for race number 5 in this round number 1. Again, if you want to check out results and all of the timings and everything, head on over to WTRL.racing, sign up your team, and check the results there. From Dave and I, though, appreciate everybody for hanging out with us. And as always, ride on.